Well, hello there. So I make videos for YouTube on loom knitting, but this is for anyone who does knit, crochet, whatever, because this is just what you can do with your swatches. And I'm making a swatch blanket. So this is the start of it. So I do all my own stitches. So these are all my own stitches, but in different stitches and different widths of yarn. So this is a number 4 and this would be a bulky here, and I just put them all together and they look like a patchwork design. So I did this strip first and then I started attaching this on this side because I want them to end at exactly the same place. I want to measure my swatches. Now when I get ones that are wider, because I make them in all different sizes, so this one is a lot wider and it wouldn't fit in with any of these, I can start a new one here, attach it on the side, and put wider ones down here. If I get more of the narrow ones and I get to the end, I can start attaching them on this side. And all you do is use any sewing method that you like to join, any joining method, and you just join them. And I use the yarn that's with them because it blends in the best. So because it's a swatch, I would have yarn. This one's extra because I used the different ones, but whatever I attach to it, if it has a long piece like that, I use that to sew it up. And if I need more, I just have on hand a more neutral color that I can use to attach it or to make it longer to attach it. So it's that easy. So and when I'm done, what I'm going to do, because the edges are all different, some of them will be sides, some of them will be cast offs or bind on, depending which way you put them on. So when I'm done, I'm going to do one of my borders all the way along the edge. Now, what you can also do is you can attach a solid piece of color in between them or anything you want, but it's a good way to use your swatches, and you end up with a blanket that has a lot of character and it will represent your work over the years. So I like that. I think that's pretty cool. So there's an idea for you, and I always tell people to make swatches and they'll say, well, I don't like making swatches, or why should I make a swatch? Well, making a swatch is a lot easier than doing a whole project and then wishing you'd used a better yarn for it. When I used this one, I did this and it really showed the stitches, so I knew what yarn to use. Some of them I didn't like the way they looked. This one really showed that type of stitch. So I just have all kinds of swatches, some that I liked the stitch in, some that I didn't, and some that I did the video in and it was just a stitch video, so I bound it off. And then it will end up in my swatch blanket. And it's a lot of fun to make. It really is. It's a lot more fun than a patchwork blanket, because with a patchwork blanket, you're just using your scrap yarn. And that's cool too. I like doing that too. But this is so nice because it's a record of different stitches you've tried or done. And it's just kind of like a history of your craft. So I hope you enjoy the video. I will show you more as I go along further. Okay, so I am further along and I've attached the pieces all the way to the end on this. And then I started with the wider ones here. And I've attached it at the top, and I've been working on it, and so you can see how it's going to work out into quite a nice patchwork blanket. And we'll be continuing to go down here. So really perfect thing for your swatches. And if you get impatient to get it finished and you run out of swatches, just try out some more stitches to see what they look like with different yarns, and then you can just add them in, and it will be just a beautiful blanket. And then if you're going to do a border, you can decide what yarn you're going to do the border in. Is it going to be one that'll match one of the colors in here, or maybe dark black or dark gray or navy blue or something to have a contrast, or even white would be a nice contrast. So you'll decide what you're going to do for a border so that your sides all look even and perfect and matching. And it's going to be just a beautiful blanket. And I really hope you enjoy doing a swatch blanket as much as I do. Every time I look at one of the stitches, I try to remember it, and I look at it and then I remember back in that period of time when I was doing that. It's actually really a lot of fun. So that's how it's looking. And okay, we will see you later. Okay, well, here I am now, and I've got the 3 panels now attached on each side, and the big wide ones went in here and they just blend right in. So even if you have different lengths, the reason some of mine are wider is, and some of you who are luminers might recognize that this is my juniper stitch. So sometimes when I do videos, I just bind it off if I'm not going to finish that particular project and I'm showing people how to do it. So I have some that were actual stitch videos and some that were just small things where I tried out stitches. Like some of these, for example, this one here, there's 2 stitches on this same swatch, and I had tried out a stitch, and oh, there's something I have to put into the weave, but I was starting to do one stitch and then I started doing another stitch, and the reason for that is I tried the stitch and I thought, well, what if I do this to it instead? What'll it do to it? Will it be a better stitch kind of thing? And I switch, and sometimes on a swatch I have more than one stitch, especially if there was a lot of yarn left on the scrap yarn I was using for doing some of the swatches. And a lot of these all of these are stitches that I've already made videos with, because if I haven't made a video with a swatch, I'm not going to put it into this blanket yet. But as you can see, it's starting to look really, really nice, just a patchwork blanket. And of course, it's going to look better when I weave in these ends. So I'm going to weave in the ends, and then we'll look and see how it looks like. Your other side can be used too, but of course I weaved in even less ends over here. But some of these stitches I put in upside down just to make it look a little bit nicer on this side. Like this stitch, for example, looks good on this side and this side. So a lot of them are like that. They show different kinds of patterns and things. And so both sides are going to look good. And then this is the right side. So I'm just going to weave some of those in. We'll take another look, and then I will see what size my swatches are and get some swatches that are the same size, and either add them here or add them here, depending on the colors and where I think it'll make a nicer looking pattern. Okay, so I'll just weave these in and let's have another look at it. Okay, so I have woven in the ends, except for ones on the end that I might use for sewing. So now you can sort of have a look at all the different stitches without seeing all those. So I can look at it this way. It looks just so interesting to see all these different stitches, and I look at them and I think, oh, I remember this one, I remember this one. And then sometimes when I look at one of my videos, I go, oh, that was that one. So lots of different textures, and I have them going every which way here. And when it's big enough and it's got all of the edging, and from the looks of it, because it just has so many stitches, they stretch different ways, and some of them are more textured than others, make a really ruffly, plain colored edging is what I'm going to put around it. So there will be a part 2 to this video when I'm done it, because I'll do the edging as a separate video, because I have my edgings on YouTube and I wanted to show people how to turn the corner, because I did them on round blankets, and a lot of people are like, how do I turn the corner? So I'll do one with turning the corner, because turning the corner is the same with all of them. And I'll use it on this blanket because this blanket needs the edging, and I was waiting for a blanket that needed an edging like that. Oh, and the other side too, now that I've sewn everything in, you can see the patterns on here too. I think the other side looks nicer, but this side looks pretty good too. So this is my good side though. This will be a nice blanket for me to loom knit on, especially in the winter when I want to be a little bit warmer, and put me in the mood too, since these are all my stitches I've been using on here. So I'm going to pick out some more swatches so I can add them on the other side. And you just keep adding. And really, if you really need help to figure out how to stitch these together, take a look on my channel at any of my bags. Because I'm using, you can use any stitch you want to join them, but I'm using the same one I use for any of my bags. So if you look at my purses and bags and you see how I stitch together edges, that's what I'm doing here. So if you feel stuck, you don't know how to stitch them together, that's what I'm doing. A lot of people might say, "What, you're a loom knitter, why didn't you attach them on the loom?" Well, when you get a lot of pieces like this, sometimes you can just attach the strips on the loom, but I find it easier because I'm fitting them in. They just fit just to sew them in by hand. It takes a lot less time, in my opinion. But they could be attached on the loom, and if that's what you want to do, I have a video of how to attach strips on the loom, so you can look at that too. But yeah, I'm going to keep going, and we're going to see what kind of blanket I have.